Why do you think I have two hands on it?
I'm not responsible for anything that falls out of the vehicle.
Day one, Millie. Hopefully the only day one. But we're prepared for more if needed. And this fine gentleman gave us a ride today. He is a good luck charm. Cooked me breakfast and everything.
This is a true story.
That came out a little bit wrong, but
It was breakfast in bed.
What does it take to be a champion?
this is sometimes a process. I know what you're thinking, Matt. It has been forever since you uploaded a video. And you're not wrong. I would ask you to forgive my shaggy appearance, but I'd rather get this video recorded than shave, so here we are. And also to those of you who have commented saying something to the effect of, it would be better if I didn't put out videos at all rather than weeks or months behind, you're wrong. Now, it's only a couple people who have commented this, but I have seen it a couple times recently, like, I can't believe I'm watching this months later, like, what's the point? The reality is that this channel has always been more about the hand review than directly following along with my life, I think. So I am curious what you guys think about this. Is it just sort of, there goes my head, is it just sort of pointless for me to put out videos if they're behind, or do you guys still want to see the hands? Should I just isolate the hands and do that rather than making vlogs out of them for things that are super outdated? What do you guys think? For me, as far as I'm concerned, I always felt like the life stuff has kind of taken a back seat to just the poker and the hands and everything, so I kind of felt like doing it this way, doing it behind, was still better than nothing. But I can't speak, but you know what to do. Comment down below. But moving forward, I am going to be pushing out a decent amount of content over the next couple of weeks, just recapping the WSOP. I did play quite a few tournaments. I documented a decent amount of that on Twitter, a little bit on Instagram stories, things like that. Those of you guys who are following me there kind of already know how the summer went and stuff, but we will recap some of the tournaments here. Not all of them, because I did play quite a few, and frankly, I didn't run that good. So when it comes to that, I will give you guys, I think, a breakdown of what happened over the summer, because I think a lot of people get frustrated when they perceive me to be withholding information about how it went, which I guess is fair. It's my life, but I am putting it on the internet after all. So yeah, I will let you guys know sort of how it went, but I do want to mostly focus on the tournaments where interesting stuff actually happened, not the ones where I played tight early, got unlucky a couple times, and busted before the end of day one. So with that in mind, however, I did want to talk about the Millie Maker, because the Millie Maker was a tournament where I was patched up for PKC. I was representing them, and here we are again. Reminder that all that info is down below. If you're interested in playing online poker for real money in the US, check that out. Also Canada. Games are fun, very rec friendly. I just love the app myself, but that's enough. That's enough of that. Let's just transition. Okay, so here at the Millie Maker, pretty amazing structure for the most part. Hour-long levels, start out 250 bigs deep, always a fun event, always a very recreational event. You can tell that there's a lot of people out there who are there for 1 or 2 tournaments, and the Millie Maker may be in that weekend that they can come out and play the World Series of Poker. So always a great event. Was excited to be out there repping PKC. Now let's get into some of those Millie Maker hands. This first hand, we're at the 100-200 level. We started at 100-100, but we was playing tight, so we just didn't see any hands. In this hand, though, we opened kings under the gun 800. The button, who's pretty active, but doesn't seem to 3-bet much and has never folded to an aggressive action so far that I've seen, makes it 1.6k. Folds to me and definitely have a 4-bet incoming here. Typical sizing would be anywhere from like 2.4 to maybe like 2.8x, something like that. I decided to size up though to a little over 4x, 6.5, or wait, no, not 4x. I actually probably could have sized it up even bigger than I did. 5.6k. He ends up making the call, which is not a surprise to me at all. We are still fairly deep, so this is pretty good spot for us. However, the flop comes out ace high, ace magnets, do it again, ace 6 deuce rainbow. I check, he kind of fiddles about and bets 5k. I call quickly, expecting that if he ever has worse than my hand, he will probably shut down after this. And if he has better than me, he will never shut down after this. So I'm pretty much just calling once to see what happens. The turn is a 7, goes check, check. River's 10, goes check, check again, and I beat pocket jacks. So nothing too crazy here. He did actually have a hand that could stand a 4-bet, but I do think it's important to have these sorts of reads on players. Like once he 3-bets, he's just never folding to a 4-bet, and so sizing up there did get me to win a little bit more than maybe I would have otherwise. This next hand, we've got 40k. Under the gun opens to 500. There are 2 calls. I'm in the small blind with queens this time, and I make it 3k. The big blind shoves 20k. Now, she's been getting in some very weird spots. Hasn't been at the table long, but I have reason to believe that this is not just kings plus. This is, even though she's shoving like a bunch of big blinds, it just doesn't have to be that strong of a hand. However, under the gun doesn't think for more than maybe 3 or 4 seconds and reshoves over the top for 23k total. Folds back around to me, and I pretty much snap fold face up. I am not at all worried about the big blind. I was always getting it in with her, but under the gun, taking this action, not thinking about it when he sees this response, just super willingly getting it in, not tanking at all. He just has it, man. It's so unlikely that he has ace king, even ace king suited, and jacks, that queens just have to go into the muck here. So I snap fold and face up. Big blind has, not even that surprisingly to me, ace jack of hearts. Under the gun has aces. It might have only ever been aces, and we make a pretty brilliant fold. You know, it's a spot where it's so easy to just stick it in there. I think you get the queens, you get this beautiful spot, big blind 4-bets, which is kind of what we want from that player, and then under the gun just does that, and you're like, how am I gonna fold this? And frankly, if I hadn't done it quickly, I'm not sure I would have been able to. But major pat on the back, just an absolute great fold by me. And wait a minute, is that a queen on the flop? I'm so bad. I'm so bad. I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I'm the worst player in history. I'm the worst player. Queen high flop, 7 on the turn, deuce on the river. I'm the worst. Anyway, after that little debacle with queens, sitting on 37k at the first break of the tournament, not a bad spot to be in, but definitely was frustrating having that particular hand go exactly how it did. I feel like every time I make a good fold that's like very disciplined or sort of a hero fold, not that that was a hero fold per se, but any kind of fold that's sort of big for me at the time, I feel like it always gets punished by the board every time. Anyway, next hand is at 200, 400, 400. We've got 31k in the stack. Early position makes it 1k, middle position in the cutoff call, and I decide to flat the button with king 9 of spades. Frankly, this is outside of what I was mostly doing at this table and out of my general pre-flop plan, although I will say I felt very comfortable with kind of what was happening at the table. Like I felt like I was, tuned in and everything. So this is probably like okay, but definitely borderline. Anyway, the flop comes out ace 9-6. Oh, I'm sorry. The big blind calls as well, and the flop comes out ace 9-6, 2 spades. So for all the being tuned in, for all the good or bad decision making, this is what we got. We just have a hand with, we've got the world, we've got the solar system, the galaxy. We've got the universe here. So yeah, we've got everything. It goes around to the cutoff. He bets 2K, and he has about starting stack. I make it 7.5K. I don't think there's a reason to wait here. We actually smash all other flush draws, and we are in very okay shape against 1 pair hands. Still okay shape against 2 pair hands, and we're not even really drawing dead to sets. So I make it 7.5K here, willing to get it in. Folds round to the cutoff, and he does shove. I call off, and he has 9-6 of diamonds. So he does have 2 pair, but our 2 pair draw is live. And we actually have some outs as well with an ace, because if an ace comes, we've both got aces and 9s, and my kicker will play. But the turn is a jack, still leaves some chop possibilities if the jack pairs. The river, though, is the 7 of clubs. Wrong suit, wrong number, just everything wrong. Terrible run out. And unfortunately, we're very short here. Very next hand, I open shove the cutoff with pocket jacks. The big blind calls it off with king 10 offsuit. I think it was something like 14 or 15 big blinds. The board comes out 9-8-6 with 2 hearts, so he's got some draws here alive, both front door and back door. The turn is the queen of clubs, and the river is the ace of spades, so I double to a bit over 12K here. And our next hand is played at the 300, 500, 500 level. I've got 9.2K in my stack here, so pretty short. The last couple hands were, collectively not the greatest for me. Kenny Hollards at the table, and he opens to 1200. I have a pretty nitty image, I would say, in his eyes, because it's probably been 2 or 3 orbits since I've played a hand, and I don't think he has seen me play a hand. The small blind calls, and this is the guy who I lost the king 9 of spades hand to, and he's been kind of all over the place, both pre-flop and post-flop. I make the call in the big blind with 7-6 of spades. The flop comes down 7-3 deuce with 2 hearts and checks around. I did consider leading, but I just didn't go for it in this moment. Kind of regretted it after the fact. Turn comes down the 10 of diamonds, and the small blind leads for 2.5K. Like I said, he was sort of all over the place, and when Kenny checks back this flop, he doesn't have to have a super weak hand, but he also doesn't have to have a strong hand either. So I decided to make the call here. The river's the 9 of clubs, and the small blind shoves for my effective stack. Now, this shove is pretty polarizing as far as the sizing goes, I think, and the fact that it's for my tournament life. I don't think he's really going to do this with just a 10, and there are quite a few misdraws available that he could either have himself or be trying to get me off of. So I end up kind of side calling it off, thinking I've got to be good here enough of the time. Unfortunately, he has 10-9, so even though I might be right that he wouldn't shove just a 10 for value here, he ends up running into the 2 pair, having a very easy value shove, and he does get me to stack off there. Definitely not a mandatory call. I could get behind, either direction, but I really feel like the turning point was more on the flop, where I could probably just led. Anyway, we bust there and decide to move it on to day 1B.